Retribution. Retribution because he couldn't get a date. That's what mass murderer Elliot Rodger called it before he killed and maimed a dozen people with a gun, with a machete, a hammer, and even with his car. This after almost 15 years of therapy at the age of 22. Just 22 years old, and he killed 6 people before taking his own life. How was such a disturbed person allowed to walk the streets? I'm Steve Green. This is Trifecta. Let's bring it on Bill Whittle and Scott Ott and see if we can figure out what's wrong, not with Elliot Rodger, but with our mental health system. Gents, here's a little something from Elliot Rodger's homemade retribution video. This isn't easy stuff to watch. Here it is.
College is the time when everyone experiences those things such as sex and fun and pleasure. But in those years, I've had to rot in loneliness. It's not fair. You girls have never been attracted to me. I don't know why you girls aren't attracted to me, but I will punish you all for it.
That is chilling stuff. Now, Rodger had been described in an online forum he participated in as a serial killer in the making. His parents, filmmaker Peter Rodger and Malaysian actress Lesion Rodger, put him in therapy starting at the age of 8. He was bullied in school starting at around 9th grade, was on a number of psychiatric drugs, and had once before sort of almost tried to kill a girl by pushing her over a ledge, but chickened out. Now, every single sign was there, and everything that could legally be done to protect society from this monster was done. And yet he woke up Friday morning a free man, killed his 3 roommates, reportedly with a machete and a hammer, and then set himself loose upon the people of his town in California. Bill, why was, and this is a quote, why was a serial killer in the making a free man that morning?
This is the question, isn't it, Steve? You know, we have, right after the event, there was reports everywhere that said that the father blamed the NRA. I'm a member of the NRA, so I'm responsible for this kid going off and doing this thing. You know, I don't really know where to start with this. The bigger issue, of course, is what do we do societally. But I would think the one thing that I'd like to just mention is that, you know, I know a lot of kids who are great kids. I know a lot of kids who are a little odd. I know 1 or 2 kids who are disturbed, but I don't know any kids who are that far disturbed. And when you look at the situation of Columbine and Aurora and Sandy Hook and all these people, it's not something that a kid just decides to do one day out of the blue. This is the result of extreme mental illness that has been going on for years and years and years. And every single one of these mass shootings has been the result of somebody who was clearly deranged and was known to be deranged for a long time. So the big issue we face as a society is, where do we draw the line between personal freedom and protection of ourselves from people who are about to snap? I don't particularly want to live in a state where everybody gets a psychiatric test every year and then is, you know, locked up based on the result of what that would result in. I'd fail. I'd probably be in prison with the rest of the quarter of the country. But with that said, you have to ask yourself, at what point do you really begin to have a legitimate right to pull this person at least into protective custody? And I personally think that the dividing line is a credible threat, is once you basically say, I'm going to go out and shoot people, and you make it clear that it's not a joke, you're not laughing, it's not hyperbole, you're not, you know, Mark Twain's favorite line, my favorite Mark Twain quote was, I don't approve of duels. If I ever met someone who challenged me, I'd take him kindly and generously by the hand, lead him off to a quiet spot and kill him. That kind of thing is a joke, but serious, credible threats are not, and that's where I think I draw the line.
All right. As a libertarian, I do have problems with involuntary commitment, but it's obvious that our old system might have been broken, but the new system is far, far too lenient. Scott, Rodger's excuse is that he was a 22-year-old virgin who had never even kissed a girl. Do you think societal pressures over sex and dating pushed him over the edge, or was this kid just a psychopath who should have been locked up years ago?
You know, and I'm sure that there are a million guys who look like me right now who are looking at that kid and thinking, if I had looked like that in high school, I would be turning down invitations to the dance, you know, because there'd be so many people lined up, so many girls just desperate to, I mean, he's an attractive young man. He's obviously intelligent. He's eloquent. He can speak clearly. So, you know, it's hard to say what's wrong, but I want to take issue with this repeated use of the term, where did the system fail? We're in the United States of America. I don't know what the system is. You know, this is not, we don't have a federal system that controls everybody's behavior. We don't have a state system. We have services available through our local government sometimes and funded through state and federal governments, but there's really no system. And I think maybe what we've failed at as a society, as a culture, as a people in the United States, is this sense of individual responsibility for yourself, for your family, for your neighbor. A time when, you know, my grandfather, Jim McMaster, used to tell me this story about how he got stopped by a police officer because he was going too fast in his Model A Roadster. And the cop came up and looked in the door and said, "Oh, it's you, Mac. I'm not going to write you a ticket. I'm going to call your old man." And that's the way society used to work. We felt a sense of accountability to each other, a sense of responsibility for the people in our lives. That's what's missing. I don't want the government to do anything to fix this. The government will screw it up even worse. In fact, maybe the government has a role in making it the way it is.
They may have. I'm very curious to see what happens as more of these facts come out. Folks, Scott hit on something, and I want to get more into this. Let's not confuse cause and effect. Elliot Rodger didn't become a killer because women rejected him. Women rejected him because he was a psychopath, and they could tell that something was deeply wrong with this guy. And let me tell you something more. All too many college women have, shall we say, questionable judgment regarding men, which I can tell you for a fact because several of them dated me back in the day, and I was certainly no prize at that age. So here is a good-looking young man. He's got money. He drives a BMW. Rejected by literally every woman he asked out. Rejected by college women who date stoners, hippies, date-raping freaks. Every single one of these women knew that something was seriously wrong with Elliot Rodger. Every single one of them. Nobody else seems to have.
Yeah.
For Scott Ott and Bill Whittle, I'm Steve Green.